Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. So I'm very excited to share today's video with you. It has been one that has been highly requested. Today I am sharing 5 easy meal ideas using my beloved air fryer. And I'll tell you about my air fryer here in a little bit. But if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a full-time working mom and I have 2 kids who are 10 and 7. My husband works full-time as well, and so I post a lot of content on this channel about cooking, home, basically trying to balance everything as a working mom. And so if you're new to my channel, I hope that you will stick around and subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. So let me tell you the 5 recipes that we're gonna make today. These are totally simple, no muss, no fuss, family friendly, easy recipes, nothing fancy here. So the first thing that I'm going to show you how to make is an air fryer chicken Parmesan. If you like chicken parm and you're trying to make it a little bit healthier without the deep frying, this is a great way to do that. It's delicious. My whole family loves it. Next, I'm going to share with you how to make salmon fillets in the air fryer. This is a great way to cook salmon. It stays really juicy and doesn't dry out, and my whole family, except my husband, in fact, loves salmon. The next simple recipe I'm going to show you is roasted potatoes. So we make these a lot for breakfast. I also like to make them as sides for dinner. You could use them as a side for your roasted salmon or any other meal that you're having. Next, I'm going to show you how to make some meatballs in the air fryer. This is honestly my favorite way to make meatballs. Ever since I discovered this, I always like making them in my air fryer, and you can totally customize this recipe if you want to do like barbecue meatballs or Italian meatballs or whatever you'd like to do. And the last recipe is not really a recipe, but I wanted to share it because we use it all the time, and that is making hot dogs in the air fryer. The great thing about making hot dogs in the air fryer is you can not only cook the hot dogs, but you can also warm up and toast the buns, and it is totally delicious. So that is what I have planned for this video today. I hope that you guys enjoy it. First, let me show you what kind of an air fryer I have and some of the details on that, and then we'll get into the recipes. Okay, so this is the air fryer I have. It is a Cosori air fryer. They are available on Amazon. Many times you can find them for on sale for around $99, and I totally think that they are worth the price. I will say that I was one of those people that originally thought, why do I need an air fryer? I have an oven. I have a convection oven. Why do I need an air fryer? And I have to tell you that I'm totally an air fryer convert. I went ahead and went with the white color because it matches my cabinets, and my kitchen is mostly white, and so that's the color I went with. But I do know that they also have a black and a red, which I think the red is really pretty as well. So this particular air fryer, like I said, I'll link the exact one that I have down below. I definitely love it. It's the second one that I've had. The other one that I had a smaller basket capacity, and I didn't love it because we have 4 people in our family, and this one has, I believe it's a 5.8 quart basket capacity, which is great because you can actually fit like 4 chicken breasts or 4 salmon fillets or whatever you're making in there, enough for your whole family. It also fits, you know, a lot of potatoes or whatever it is that you're wanting to cook. So I like this one because it also has a preheat function. So many of the air fryer recipes that you will find show instruct you to preheat your air fryer, and this does it automatically for you for 5 minutes. You just have to start it. So I also think that the interface on this and the buttons are very intuitive. There are many different foods that you can choose from. For example, when I do salmon, I just choose the fish button, and it tells you exactly, whoops, let me do it again. It tells you exactly, you know, it sets it up exactly the temperature and the time for you. If you want to adjust the temperature and the time, you can also do that, you know, independently. It also has a keep warm function, which is really nice, especially if something is done and you're waiting a little bit to eat dinner. So I'm super happy with this air fryer. I also wanted to mention an air fryer cookbook that I have. This is the Skinny Taste One and Done cookbook. It actually has recipes for your Instant Pot, slow cooker, air fryer, sheet pan, skillet, and Dutch oven. So it's kind of a multi-purpose cookbook, but she also has a food blog where she shares a lot of great air fryer recipes. So I'll link both this cookbook and the Skinny Taste blog down below. But if you guys are looking for something for Christmas, either to gift someone or if you want to ask for one for Christmas, I would totally recommend this. So without further ado, let's get into the recipes. So first I'm going to show you the air fryer chicken Parmesan. These are the ingredients that we're going to need for that. I have 2 large chicken breasts here that I have cut the fat off and basically filleted in half so that they're thinner chicken cutlets. Let me show you how I did that.
Lightning strikes by my window, hits my chest right in the morning, like a warning. Could have slept here for days. I felt your heartbeat, felt your mouth breathe, but it's not real. We were close to see the sun, but clouds.
And then also for this recipe, you'll need a bowl to dredge your chicken in. You're going to brush it with melted butter and then mix together some Italian breadcrumbs and some Parmesan cheese and dredge it in that. You'll also need some cooking spray to spray the chicken breasts with once they're in the air fryer, some salt, some marinara sauce. I have some homemade marinara sauce that I pulled out of the freezer, but jarred is fine. Whatever you have on hand will do. I have a basting brush for the butter and then just some mozzarella cheese. So you can serve this recipe with pasta, or if you wanted to keep it a little bit low carb, you could definitely serve salad on the side. Okay, so I have my chicken breast here. The recipe does not call to season these with salt, but I'm going to do that because I just feel wrong not seasoning them with salt. I want them to have flavor. So I'm gonna sprinkle them with some kosher salt, and then I just have some butter here that is, well, it was melted, but it looks like it's hardened a little bit, which is totally fine. We're gonna just brush each side of these with the butter and then coat it in the breadcrumb mixture. So if you are not familiar with what, you know, kind of an air fryer is, it's basically just like a little mini convection oven. So the difference with a convection oven is that like my oven, I have a gas oven, and it has both a regular oven function and a convection function. And essentially what the convection function does is it heats with a fan. You have hot air circulating in the oven, which is able to cook things more quickly and give them a crispier texture. But in the case of an air fryer, you have a very small area in there, right? It's not as big as an oven. So it heats very quickly. It's able to give you sort of that like fried texture and crunch without actually deep frying it. I'm not gonna go so far as to say that it tastes exactly like deep frying stuff, because in my opinion, there's really nothing that, you know, replicates that. But if you're trying to make your food a little bit more calorie friendly, it's definitely an easy way to do that. Okay, so I have my chicken breast all brushed here. You can see that the chicken breast was cold and the butter was melted, and so it hardened back up, which is fine. I'm gonna mix together my breadcrumbs and my Parmesan cheese. So it says 6 tablespoons of seasoned breadcrumbs. I'm just gonna eyeball that. I have 4 chicken breasts here, so, and then 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, so. And then I will stir this together. I'm using just regular Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. If you don't have Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, just go ahead and use plain breadcrumbs, and then just sprinkle like some parsley and some thyme in there if you have it. Okay, so here's my breadcrumb mixture. I'm gonna go ahead and dip all of these into the breadcrumbs. Okay, so the recipe does call to preheat the air fryer, which I've done using the preheat button. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the basket out, and I'm gonna spray the bottom of the basket with some cooking spray. I know that some people say that you don't have to use oil when you cook in an air fryer. Personally, I like to use a little bit of cooking spray, especially when I'm trying to achieve, like a fried texture. such as this, because I think that it does help crisp it up a little bit with really, you know, negligible calories and fat. So I have my chicken breast in here. I'm going to try to scoop some more of this breading on, just to make sure that everything is well coated. Okay, and then the recipe says to spray these with a little bit more cooking spray. Pop it back in here, and you're going to cook this at 360 degrees for 6 minutes. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to do temp 360 for 6 minutes. It's been 6 minutes. Let's check on our chicken here. I'm a little bit nervous just because I feel like these are pretty thick chicken breasts, but we'll see. So now we're gonna flip these over. Well, I would say they're pretty halfway cooked through at least. On this side, I'm gonna set this down here. Let me move my camera. We're going to top it with some marinara and cheese. So like I mentioned, I have homemade marinara sauce that I have in my freezer, kind of, you know, left over from the summer, but definitely just use, you know, jarred marinara sauce if that's what you have on hand. I'm not gonna cover these too much. I'm just gonna put a couple spoonfuls on each one. I just have some regular shredded mozzarella cheese, just the good old Kraft brand. So use whatever cheese that you'd like. Obviously, mozzarella is traditional, but you could also use fresh mozzarella if you wanted to slice that up and put it on instead. And don't worry about making a mess in this basket. It's very easy to clean, and actually I've put this whole basket and insert in the dishwasher several times and it's worked just fine. So now we have our chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the air fryer, and the recipe says to cook it at 360 for 3 more minutes. I'm gonna cook it for 4 minutes just because I do think that my chicken breasts are a little bit thicker than what the recipe calls for. And then we can definitely check it and make sure it's done. 4, okay. Okay, so the air fryer is done. I have let it sit here for about 3 to 4 minutes, just kind of resting. So we're gonna take a first look together. Oh wow, that looks good. Okay, so if you are not experienced with cooking chicken breasts, you could definitely take an instant read thermometer and check these. I'm just feeling it right now, and I can tell. I know people get mad when I say this. I can tell when it's done, but honestly, I've cooked chicken so much that I can just tell when it's done. But definitely, like I said, use a thermometer and make sure that it's cooked, you know, to temperature. So I'm going to remove this to a platter, and we'll cut into it and see what it looks like. So I wanted to show you guys that I cut into the chicken and I've tried it. It is delicious. If you make one recipe out of this video, well, okay, if you have an air fryer, or if you get an air fryer, make all of them. But this is delicious. This, as cooked, only has 250 calories and 14 carbs per chicken breast, which is really, really figure friendly, obviously. And the chicken is juicy inside. I will probably be serving this with a little bit more sauce just because I like my chicken parm to be a little bit saucy, but I'll also serve it with some salad. You could also make some pasta to serve it with, but totally delicious. Definitely try this out for yourself. So the next air fryer recipe I'm going to show you is how to make salmon fillets in your air fryer. This is one of my favorite ways to cook salmon now. If you don't like salmon, you could definitely use other fish in here as well. You do want to pay attention to the cook time. I use the fish button on the Kasori and it cooks the salmon just perfectly. But if you have fish that's thinner, like a tilapia or something like that, I would definitely reduce the cooking time just so it doesn't dry out. So in the air fryer here, I've just sprayed the bottom with some canola oil spray. I put 2 salmon fillets. These are skin on, so I put the skin side down into the air fryer, and then I'm just going to season the other side. So I like to use some salt, and you can basically use anything that you want to season your fish, but I like this citrus pepper blend seasoning from Fresh Jack's. I've talked about their spices before on my channel, and I do have a coupon code in the description box below if you want to try any of their spices. But this citrus pepper is what I use on salmon the most frequently, and it turns out delicious. So this is a salt-free seasoning, so you can go ahead and salt it to your taste, and then I just like to liberally add that. I'm also going to add a little bit of fresh lemon juice. This part is optional, but I always add fresh lemon to salmon when I cook it. If you wanted to, you could add a little pat of butter over each of the fillets as well. I think today I'm just gonna drizzle it with just a little bit of olive oil. But like I said, that's totally optional. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of olive oil on the top. All right, and that's it. That's seriously how easy it is to prepare salmon for the air fryer. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the salmon in here, turn it on, and then like I said, I always just use the fish button. This cooks it at 350 for 8 minutes, so if you don't have this particular brand, go ahead and cook yours in your air fryer at 350 degrees for 8 minutes. If I was doing a thinner, like tilapia or something like that, I would probably start with 6 minutes and then go up from there. But in my experience, anytime I've cooked salmon in here, using the fish button, it's been perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so the salmon is done. Let's take a look. I've let it rest for a little bit. Oh, that looks delicious. I do like putting a little bit of the olive oil on top just to let the top crisp up a little bit too. Okay, so here is how I am serving this air fryer salmon. I am actually serving it on a salad. So I just have some romaine lettuce on the bottom there. I am using some toasted sesame dressing from Trader Joe's. Here's what the bottle looks like. This is great for Asian flavored salads. You can also use it as a marinade. And then on the salad, I also have a few sliced oranges, some cucumber, some red pepper, and some wonton strips. If you have cilantro, I would definitely recommend adding that to this. It gives it a great flavor if you like cilantro. And then I just have the salmon on the side here. I did add a little bit of parsley just for color. But this is a great idea to serve salmon as a salad. A salmon Caesar salad is also delicious if you've never tried that. So I hope that you try this air fryer salmon and let me know how you like it, because it turns out delicious every time. It's great for a quick lunch or a dinner or for meal prep as well. So next I'm going to show you some roasted potatoes in the air fryer. So this is a great idea for a side dish, or you can even make them for breakfast. Sometimes when we grill out in the summer, I like to make this as a quick side dish for either burgers or steak. So I just have two russet potatoes that I've already scrubbed and washed and dried. You do not have to peel these. You totally can if you want to. And I also wanted to mention that you can basically use any type of potato that you want. If you wanted to use red potatoes, you could do that. Yellow, any kind really. Sweet potatoes I made in the air fryer. So I'm just gonna kind of cut these up into about approximately 1-inch cubes. You wanna make sure that they're mostly all the same size, and that way they'll cook evenly. I'm just gonna throw them in the air fryer as I'm chopping. I wanted to mention also, I did get some new knives that I am testing out. These are the Xylus brand, and I wanted to find a brand of knife that was cheaper than the one that I currently have, so I could give you guys some recommendations, and so far I am loving these, so I'll link them down below. But they cut really well. So essentially you're just gonna season these potatoes right in the air fryer basket. I've made roasted potatoes in the oven plenty of times just with this same method, but for some reason when I do it in the air fryer, they just turn out so much crispier and more delicious. So I have my potatoes in here, and next I'll show you how I season them. These I season very simply. You could totally season them with whatever sorts of flavors that you wanted. I'm going to use just a little bit of olive oil, maybe about 2 tablespoons. And then I'll also sprinkle them with some salt. Remember, potatoes are very bland, so they do need a healthy amount of salt. And then for the seasoning on these, I'm going to use some of this 21 seasoning Salute, if I can get it to focus here. This is from Trader Joe's. It just has a mixture of different herbs and pepper and garlic, and it's really delicious. So I'm going to season the potatoes with that. And then all I do is just kind of toss these in here. Sort of back and forth like that. Oh, Murphy. He sees a squirrel. And that's it. There's your potatoes. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to cook these. So I will put the final cook time in the description box below, but basically every time I do this, it's just kind of a trial and error thing. So on here, I have some different options. So there is a vegetable option here, which puts them at 400 for 12 minutes. There's also a French fry option that cooks them at 380 for 25 minutes. I think I want to do the French fry option, except I don't think it's going to take quite that long. So I'm going to do 380 for, we're going to start out with 18 minutes and see how that goes. And halfway through, I'll pull the basket out and shake them. That's another thing that I didn't mention about this air fryer is if you do pick one of like the programmed functions, like the frozen function, it will prompt you halfway through to pull it out and shake it, which is good if you're making French fries or something like that you want to be crispy all the way around. So we're going to start with this and I'll show you what they look like when they're done. All right, so the time is halfway through and the air fryer just beeped. You can see it says shake right there. So I'm just going to pull this out. Careful. When you cook potatoes, they're full of water, so there's quite a lot of steam that comes out. So just be careful when you open it that you don't burn yourself. So what I'm going to do is shake these around, try to flip them a little bit, and put them back in, and then push the start button. If you try, oh, I guess it starts right up on its own. If I tried to open this right now with it running, it won't open. You have to push the pause button first, just so you're aware if you have this air fryer. Okay, so this has been cooking at 380 for 14 minutes. So I'm gonna take this out and look. And these look perfect. So I'm gonna show you how I'm going to serve these up. All right, so here is what I decided to do with my air fryer roasted potatoes. I put these down in a bowl. I melted a little bit of Monterey Jack cheese over those, just popped it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. I fried up an egg over easy with salt and pepper, put that on top with a little bit of pico de gallo. You guys, this makes a delicious lunch, breakfast, dinner, snack, any time of day. It will be so good, and this is obviously a very budget-friendly meal too. Potatoes, eggs are cheap, cheese is relatively cheap, and the pico I just made myself by cutting up some green onions, cilantro, red onion, and tomato. So definitely try these air fryer roasted potatoes. They have a lot of different options. You can make them for breakfast, lunch, or a side for dinner. Okay, so next I'm going to show you guys how to make some hot dogs in the air fryer. Now, I really even questioned whether or not I should post this in this video or share this in this video, just because this isn't really much of a recipe, although there is a recipe reference online, which I will link down below. However, if you have not tried hot dogs in the air fryer, you're definitely missing out. The main thing about cooking hot dogs in the air fryer is that you can also crisp and toast up the buns, which in my opinion makes for a way more delicious hot dog. So you can hear this kind of sizzling here. Maybe, I don't know, my dishwasher's running, but I have preheated the air fryer, and then I'm just going to take my fork and poke a few holes in these. I'm just cooking 2 hot dogs right now because my kids are gonna have these for a snack this afternoon. But that's it. So go ahead and put these in your air fryer basket, and then you are going to cook these at 375, see, mine only does increments of 10 degrees, so I think I'm just gonna go with 370. And the recipe says to cook them for 5 minutes, and then we will remove the basket, place the buns, and finish cooking them the rest of the way. So the hot dogs have been in the air fryer for 5 minutes. What I'm gonna do is just remove the basket. Oh man. I know there are people that are like snobs about hot dogs and they're like, oh, they're so processed, I don't like them. I'm never gonna sit here and tell you that a hot dog is healthy, but you know, it's something that you don't eat every day, and who doesn't like a good hot dog, especially like on the grill or at the ballpark. I'm sorry, you will never catch me being a hot dog snob on this channel. All right, so I'm gonna kind of stand these up in here. You could obviously fit more if you wanted to. I'm gonna carefully put these back into the air fryer, and then the recipe says to cook these for another 2 to 3 minutes until the buns start toasting. So I'm just gonna go with 2 minutes. Whoops. Because I know my air fryer and it tends to cook a little bit quicker and I don't want the buns to get burnt. All right, whoop, 2 minutes. All right, I'll show you when they're done. All right, so you cannot tell me, if you like hot dogs, that these hot dogs don't look delicious. Hot dogs are perfectly cooked and the buns are nice and toasty. So when we make regular hot dogs, I'm not talking about chili dogs. When we make chili dogs, we put chili, cheese, and onion on them. But for regular hot dogs, we usually like to put ketchup. Only Heinz ketchup will do. Mustard, yellow mustard, and some dill relish. But you guys have to let me know in the description box below, what do you like to put on your hot dog? The last recipe that I'm going to show you for the air fryer is meatballs. And like I said, you can totally customize this to whatever flavor that you like. The original recipe that I'm using is more of an Italian style, but I'm going to customize it a little bit just to make like a regular meatball, because I'm going to be topping these with barbecue sauce. So the recipe calls for 1 pound of ground beef. You can easily double this, although you may have to cook it in a few batches in your air fryer, depending on the size of air fryer that you have. The recipe also calls for minced onion. You could freshly, dice some minced onion. I'm gonna go ahead and use the dried minced onion just because that's what my kids really prefer. They get kind of irritable when I put big chunks of onion in my meatballs. It also calls for some minced garlic. I'm just gonna use this garlic stir-in paste. I get this at Walmart. It is delicious and it tastes exactly like fresh garlic. So I'm just gonna put about 2 teaspoons in there. That's about 2 cloves. Next, I need a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. I'm just using the Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. You can use any breadcrumbs that you have on hand. 2 tablespoons of milk. That might be a little bit more. And then 1 large egg. So I'm gonna crack it on this side of the bowl so I can beat it up a little bit before I mix it together. And then basically just your herbs. So what I'm gonna use is this 21 seasoning salute from Trader Joe's. I talked about this before. So I'll sprinkle some of that in there. And then about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a squeeze of Dijon mustard. Another thing you could do with these is make some like Swedish type meatballs. So make like a stroganoff sauce or a white sauce and then pour that over the top of these once they come out of the air fryer. If I'm making these Italian style, what I like to do is cook them in the air fryer, especially if I'm doing a meal prep. I can prep these on the weekend, stick them in the refrigerator, and then all I have to do during the week is just take them out, pop them in a pot of hot marinara sauce, and I've got dinner on the table in like 20 minutes. If you're making these with barbecue sauce like I'm going to, I'm actually doing these for a meal prep dish today. So what I'll do is once these are done cooking, I'll put them in a container, just drizzle some barbecue sauce over the top, and then we can have those for dinner this week, or what'll probably end up happening is my husband will probably end up taking them for lunches. So you can mix this with your hands if you want to, but I think a fork does just as good of a job. If I'm making a really large batch of meatloaf or meatballs. Sometimes I use my KitchenAid mixer. It just depends on what I've got going on. So I have my air fryer basket here. You do want to spray this with some cooking spray. Probably enough fat in the beef to keep it from sticking, but just to make sure, we're going to spray it with some nonstick spray. And then you'll shape these into about 1.5 inch meatballs and just place them in the air fryer. Oh, there's a chunk of meat in there that's not ground up. Here you go, Murphy. Oh, he's excited about that. We actually, and I know I've talked about this in multiple videos before, but I know there's always new people watching. My husband actually works with a farmer who farms cattle. And so we actually get our beef from him. Once a year, we go in with several other families. We either get 1/4 of a cow or half a cow, depending on what we need for that year. This year, at the beginning of the year, we ended up getting a half, and it has lasted us all year. It is almost December now. I think we got it in January, and we still have plenty left. So I actually need to go through and kind of do an inventory of my freezer. I know that I still have quite a bit of ground beef left and quite a bit of roasts. Typically what happens is, especially if we get the beef in the spring or the summer, we always go through the steaks first just because we like to grill them. But if you can do that in your area and your family eats beef, I would definitely recommend that, especially if you have a deep freeze. Our deep freeze is very small and it still holds half of a cow, which I think is pretty impressive, but it will save you so much money at the grocery store. When I go to the grocery store and buy ground beef, I cannot get ground beef around here for less than $4 a pound. That is expensive. That's more expensive than chicken breast. And when we buy it from the local farmer, after we pay the farmer and the processing fee, we actually get it for about $2.50 a pound, and that's including everything. That's including ground beef, steaks, roasts, all the parts of the beef. And honestly, the beef tastes so much better when you buy it locally. And you also know that it was raised humanely, so that is a bonus. Okay, these are done. I'm gonna show you how I cook them. Okay, so these are gonna cook at 400 for 10 minutes. I'm just gonna set my temp to 400 and then my time to 10 minutes. And then when it beeps, I'll just make sure that they're all the way cooked through. Okay, so my air fryer just beeped. Let's check on these. They're gonna be steamy. Oh my God, those look so perfect. Can you see that? I'm gonna let these rest for a little bit and then I'll show you how we're gonna serve them up. All right, so here are the completed meatballs. I'm just showing you guys how I'm gonna serve these. So essentially I'm gonna put these in meal prep containers with some barbecue sauce over the top, and Adam will probably take them for lunches this week. But meatballs are one of those things that are sometimes a pain, especially when you try to fry them up in a skillet. The grease just splatters everywhere. And I know you can make them in the oven, but they really don't get quite as crisp on the outside. If you make them in the air fryer, they get crisp on the outside, they stay tender on the inside, can't talk, and these are super versatile. You could, like I said, make them like this with barbecue sauce. You can make them with marinara sauce for pasta. You could also do chicken meatballs or ground turkey meatballs, lamb meatballs. The sky's the limit with these, so definitely give these a try in your air fryer. All right, so that is gonna wrap it up for today's air fryer video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and thanks as always for your support on my channel. I truly do appreciate it. If you have an air fryer, let me know in the comments below which of these recipes you would like to try. Otherwise, I hope that you consider getting an air fryer because they are truly very versatile and you can cook so many things in them besides like frozen French fries and chicken nuggets. But anyway, I will see you in my next video. Bye.